Can you hear me? Hey, Steven.
Hello.
Hey, is it Steven, Stefan? How do I say it?
It's Stefan.
Oh, I'm so
Stefan.
sorry. I've been
That's
mispronouncing
Stefan.
it this entire time. Stefan.
No worries.
Hey, Stefan. It's really nice to meet you. I'm John.
Great to meet you.
Thank you for everything you've done. I'm sorry you had a not great experience. Okay, the biggest thing I'm worried about with this is the transition from AirMeet to this crazy secure platform that we're using. So I don't know how
So
we're
it's
going to
possible that nobody makes the transition, but I feel like there's interest.
Yeah, people were asking when I put stuff in the chat, the AirMeet chat, they were like, oh, how do I do it? So
much of what both panels talked about, I feel like would be helped with.
So
Whistleblower Aid.
I'm going to bring us back to introduce the tables.
okay, I'm simultaneously on both.
Give us a moment,
Okay.
John, for you to introduce what Whistleblower Aid is doing, and then we'll break the tables.
Stefan Hayden?
Yes, Hayden. Yep.
Who shushed?
Hello.
Thank you to all of you who have been joining us. We're just going to, in a second, we're going to break to discussion tables that will be hosted by the different organizations hosting this event. Wanted to come back and briefly share what some of those table topics will be.
Hi. So I
Hello,
think that
everyone.
we should probably wait for a few minutes and see if other people find their way over. I know it's not convenient to get to our session, but let's give people a
Yep.
chance. What do you think?
Yep. And now I don't see anything here on YouTube.
Oh.
I'm reloading. Maybe we should, oh, here I am. Okay, so the YouTube session is about 30 seconds behind this Zoom call. Hey, Libby. So why don't you just sort of keep people updated so when they get here, they don't feel like it's a dead screen.
Okay, but I'm looking at 5 participants and there's 5 of us.
Yeah, we need to get the link in a method people can actually
Click on.
do.
Hi, so a couple people joined us, but I feel like we should still give it a few minutes. What do you guys think?
Sure.
Okay, so we had 7 and now we're down to 5 again. Maybe it'll cure me of my stage fright. Is there a point that we should call it? It's such a good session. I really wanted to do it. Okay, should we just proceed? Red reports. Okay. All right, so I think that we should just start, and if people join us and have questions, then we'll have a good discussion. And if not, then we can wrap early or late, since it's already, what, 5:30 now? Sound good? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start the session. I'm really sorry. I think people are probably having a hard time finding us and moving over from the air meet. But I think this is a good lesson that's about how seriously we take security, because the last thing we want is for anybody to be able to link the people that are interested in the subject with actually having come and listen to our presentation. So with that, I'm just gonna talk about Whistleblower Aid for a few minutes. And with me today, we have Stefan Hayden, who was a whistleblower with his former employer, Shutterstock. We're so happy that he's here. He's going to share a short version of his journey, and he's going to be able to answer any questions you have that you can, pose to him. And after Stefan, John Ty will speak to some key things that we wish every potential whistleblower knew when they start their own journeys. And he'll speak to lessons that we've learned from leading Whistleblower Aid since it started in September 2017. So I'm Libby, and I run Whistleblower Aid. I identify as a human rights and freedom activist. I joined Whistleblower Aid in April to focus my work on the increasingly vital issue of protecting folks that come forward to inform the global discussion on issues that impact all of us. Having led Radio Free Asia for 16 years, I know how dangerous information is. I know what lengths those in power will go to hide the truth. And I saw too many of our journalists, freelancers, and sources threatened and disappeared for talking about the things the regimes have censored out of the public consciousness. In 2012, I created the Open Technology Fund to fund tech that protects the people that need it most and is free and designed to be usable for them. One obvious thing is that we created the localization lab so that technology could be translated into 200 languages and dialects, because it would be super useful if you could actually read the tech you're using. But now in my seat at Whistleblower Aid, we are seeing regime-like censorship and surveillance by corporations, some of whom have more power than nation states. And we're seeing it in democracies. It's bad. And if we don't find a way to protect people who are taking these huge professional and personal risks, bringing critical information to light, then there will not be accountability. And power and profit motivations will continue to trump doing the right thing. So we're trying to level the playing field by protecting people and destigmatizing whistleblowers.
Hey, Libby, one thing. First of all, we have a bunch of great viewers now who have joined, and one of them has commented that your volume appears low. So I don't know if you can.
I'm so sorry.
Get closer to the,
I actually don't know where my
to the
mic
mic. Yeah.
Is that better? Is that better?
We'll just keep going. I don't know if you can plug in headphones and maybe use your mic like that, but While you're working on that, I'll just hop in and say, so Libby and I are obviously very pleased to be putting this on. And we actually have several significant tech whistleblower related matters. I come out of the legal field. I'm a lawyer. Libby is a recovering lawyer, but in fact, has spent her whole life as a human rights activist, has gone head to head for decades with the Communist Party of China. So we have a special interest in, I would say, technology and other corporate issues, human rights issues related to the People's Republic of China. With that, I'll turn it back over to Libby.
Okay, so as I was saying, that one of the things that we're seeing that is very concerning and why this matters so much is because we're seeing regime-like censorship and surveillance executed by corporations. Some of them are bigger than nation states and in democracies, and it's really bad. And if we don't find a way to protect people who are taking these huge risks to bring critical information to light, then there's never going to be any accountability. And profit and power will continue to trump doing the right thing. So we're trying to level the playing field by protecting people and destigmatizing whistleblowers. We take a holistic approach for the benefit of each of our clients. Having been founded by John Tai, himself a whistleblower of classified information, we obviously take security very seriously, both digital and physical, and we'll take care of our clients' legal needs. We'll invest in an impact strategy, working with like-minded investigators, media, PR professionals to drive towards that positive change that is motivating everyone who starts down this road. And as a nonprofit, we'll raise the money to do all of this and remove one of the biggest barriers to people doing this, which is cost. So this is a discussion session, and I hope that you pipe in with questions via Slido at any time, but I do want to take a moment and give you our signal number in case you want to reach out to us or you know somebody that wants to reach out to us, because we are here to help. It's +1 201 773 1371. So that's our number. Reach out to us if we can help you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Stefan.
Hello, how is everyone today? So I'm Stefan Hayden. I'm a senior developer, web developer, and I was one of several employees who pushed back and ultimately talked to the press when it came to Shutterstock's censorship of images in China. So let me give you a quick overview of kind of what Shutterstock is and actually like what my relationship to Shutterstock is. So Shutterstock, if you don't know, is a worldwide stock for photography provider. And so if you're a photographer anywhere in the world, you can upload photos and then anyone can kind of show up to the site and download photos. I was an employee at Shutterstock for over 9 years, which is super rare in the tech industry. When I joined, there were 70 employees, and we just had 13 million images in our image library. 9 years later, when I left, we were over 1,200 employees worldwide with over 250 million images in our image library. Like, I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but like after being there for so long, was a really well-loved and liked employee, well-known around the company. In 2018, they actually invented a Lifetime Achievement Award to award me for my long tenure in the tech organization, being the longest person to ever have tenure in the tech organization. They called me Captain Shutterstock. You know, talking publicly, I was always able to say really nice things about Shutterstock. And then privately, I was able to kind of criticize the things that I thought we were doing well and not doing well. And so when news first started to spread internally at Shutterstock, that the search team was about to start filtering some searches in China, I was one of the first people that people kind of reached out to see what I thought or what I could do. Everyone knew all the social capital that I built up at the company. while at the same time kind of being an advocate for my coworkers and kind of asking hard questions of the C-level. I kind of developed a practice of asking questions to the C-level that were both direct, but also let the C-level feel good about their answer, which is a delicate dance if you've ever tried that with the C-level folks. But all this goodwill I built up, 9 years of being an employee, being given an award just a few months before, pretty much all went out the window when I started asking really hard questions about what we were doing with filtering images. They didn't want to hear the questions. They insisted that the decision had already been made and there was no discussion to be had. They insisted that we could trust them to make the right decision, which seemed very hard to do when we didn't even agree with the first decision that they would make. And they also insisted that they were open to talking. We had Q&A sessions for the whole time I've been there where we've asked questions. They're happy to talk, but at the same time, the decision's final. So it didn't feel much like a conversation was being had. So after several of those kind of Q&A meetings, which often were kind of less pleasant than some past Q&A meetings we had with these hard questions, some of us actually drafted an internal letter where we said we would like to stop censoring images in China. And we actually achieved almost 20% of the company signing on to this letter and sending it to our C-levels. Eventually that got leaked to the news. And so the C-level kind of got even frostier than they were before. And they sent out an internal letter about pretty much stating things they'd already said. Decision was made. Everything they're doing is legal, and that while they're happy to listen, they kind of wanted to move on from this topic. Let's see. But so at that point, we realized that this wasn't a conversation, and they kind of didn't want to have anybody have a different opinion. And in a Q&A session quickly after that, the CEO mentioned that he was done talking about this and he wanted to move on. And I took his advice, and I decided that it would be best if I moved on and if I tried to make as much noise as I could on my way out. And so on my way out, I found new jobs as quickly as I can. I am a web developer, and those jobs these days are very easy to find. And on my way out, I tried to talk to every coworker who signed the petition and kind of make sure that my voice was heard about why I was leaving and why this was an important topic. And on the way out, I also started trying to find reporters to report on this, which if you're doing it by yourself is extremely hard to find any reporter who's interested in your topic. I explained what Shutterstock was because I think you might not know who Shutterstock is, but if you're Facebook, you probably can get a reporter. If you're Google, you probably can get a reporter. At a smaller tech company, it's much harder. Many people told me at the company that I was doing the wrong thing, that what I was doing would make no difference. But I knew that I was in a position that I could be a first mover and try and make some noise, and it would probably have little to no impact on me. And it put me in a position where I felt like not acting was just ridiculous. It was so easy for me to act, I had to do it. If it wasn't for me talking to reporters and all the other work that my coworkers did to push back against the C-level, no one would know today that Shutterstock was filtering images in China. And that's a small thing that we were able to do. I'm still in contact with so many coworkers that are still there, that are demoralized from the past situation and are still looking for new jobs. And for some people, that's really hard. And I was lucky that I was able to kind of move on when I could. And so that's kind of my story of what I went through at Shutterstock.
Thank you, Stefan.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so again, I'm John. I think everyone's probably seen me by now. We're getting some questions in the Slido. So again, sorry for the multiple platforms, but you'll see on the YouTube link, there's a link to Slido, and that's the most secure platform for chatting and questioning. So we can take your live active questions. I'm a lawyer. I'm a whistleblower myself. Back in 2014, I was at the State Department. I had a top secret clearance. I worked on internet freedom after the Snowden disclosures. I learned that the NSA, the National Security Agency, was collecting a ton of Americans' data under this legal loophole that hadn't even been reported for the whole year after the Snowden leaks. I became a lawful whistleblower, hired lawyers, and went through that process. Then in 2017, founded Whistleblower Aid. And we've been involved in a lot of significant cases in the last 4.5 years, including our lawyers represented the anonymous Ukraine whistleblower that led to the first impeachment of Donald Trump, multiple other cases inside the US government and private corporations. And I want to take a couple of minutes to hit the high points on do's and don'ts for whistleblowers. You actually, if you do things right, you actually have more protections than you think. If you don't do things right, you have no protections almost at all, and you need to be very careful and very scared. So, okay, a few points. Number one, let's start with the basic advice. Talk to a lawyer first, a lawyer you trust under attorney-client privilege. They can protect whatever you tell them. Talk to them. Do not talk to your best friend. Do not talk to your coworkers. Do not talk to your boss or anyone at your company about what you're seeing that you're concerned about. Talk to a lawyer first. Number two, secure the evidence. So you have to do this in a lawful way and a secure way. So do not forward a bunch of emails from your work account to your personal account. That will be instantly recognized. Do not print off a whole bunch of documents because they can usually tell which documents you've accessed and printed. The best way to do it is to take your personal phone or even buy a cheap burner phone. Take photos of your computer screen with that phone and save those on a device that's not owned by whatever company you're working for, a personal device. Never use email for anything, basically. Email is not a secure technology. You should always use the Signal app. And well, actually, so that goes to the third point. So for number one, talk to a lawyer. Number two, secure the evidence. Number three, follow basic security practices. Do not use email, use only Signal or meet in person. And if you start with those three things, you're at least on the right track. I also, some of the questions here about NDAs and confidentiality agreements, those are real and they can have consequences, but they're often less powerful than you might think. They look scary when you sign these things and they have all these lawyers working for these companies, but there's often very significant ways to get around them, and this is why you need to talk to a lawyer. Do not go to a journalist first. I didn't say that. Come to a lawyer first. We can help you come to a journalist later, but you need to talk to a lawyer first. So one avenue that most people are not familiar with, but if you work at most of the big tech companies, which are publicly traded companies regulated by the SEC, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, you are permitted to and encouraged to make lawful disclosures to the SEC through the Office of the Whistleblower. So in some cases, you can actually make a lot of money by doing this. I wouldn't say this is very common. A very small percentage of the disclosures lead to this, but if your evidence is original and the SEC uses it to bring an enforcement action against the company, you're actually entitled to up to 30% of what the SEC recovers from the company in enforcement action, and 30% can be a big number. I mean, some of these enforcement actions are hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars. 30% can be a lot of money. So there is that incentive, but more, I would say, pressing for most of our clients is the protections against retaliation. So we can help you file a claim with the SEC, which, I mean, might set you up for a financial reward. It's always a long shot, but can definitely trigger anti-retaliation protections for you. And we have a lot of experience doing this. That's just one example. Every case is different, so I don't want to give firm advice here. But the point is that we can really help you solidify your position as a lawful whistleblower before you start trying to publicize your concerns of what's happening at your company, and that will make it much harder to retaliate against you. Libby mentioned this a few minutes ago, but our model is like soup to nuts. Like so we can give you special devices that you use only to communicate with us. In the Ukraine matter and others, we've paid for armed guards to guard clients or lawyers, who are a threat of physical harm. We can help you find a new job if you're fired. We can help pay your rent. We can set you up with media consultants. We obviously can make legal filings for you. We can help you meet with Congress or state regulators, the SEC, the Federal Trade Commission, the Department of Justice. We do a wide range of cases. The Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, so bribery of foreign officials. So we have a pretty wide remit and a lot of experience with these types of cases. And we're really trying to remove all of the barriers for you or other whistleblowers to feel comfortable stepping forward. And that is our first principle. The client's interests come first. So whatever we can do to protect you and make you feel safe, we're going to do, and we'd never pressure you to do anything you're uncomfortable with. That's our core principle.
Thanks, John.
Libby, I'll stop there.
Can we see if Stefan has anything that he wants to add and react to? Because unfortunately, we were not there for him.
Well, like so many tech workers, like we don't think about organizing first, and we don't think ahead for these sort of problems. This was the first problem that felt like a moral quandary that Shutterstock had ever had in its entire existence. So we kind of just don't have the muscles in place to think about this, right? I explained what my story was, and John explained what not to do, and you can see there was not a lot of overlap of like the right things to do and the right things that I did. I turned out, things seemed to turn out pretty okay for me, but obviously there's so many ways that things could have gone wrong. And had we known the right organizations to reach out to, there might have been much different outcomes. While it was really nice to get in the public air that Shutterstock was doing these things, in the end there was no kind of repercussions for the company, since there was kind of very little pickup of the news story. So much of what John outlines could have been so helpful for us if we just knew about it in advance. And so it's kind of great to get that message out.
Thanks, Stefan. That is a really important point. I think that nobody would take these risks and do this dangerous journey if they weren't motivated by wanting to do something good and having a positive impact. So it's really important to us to design an impact strategy that's going to use the press and use advocacy and all of those levers to try to have a long tail impact. So we have a question here that says, are any of you involved in regulating what a whistleblower must be legally allowed and protected to do? And how are your efforts going? So I'll take it first, and John, you can add to my answer as you wish. We don't do over advocacy. We are not involved in lobbying for regulations. We are solely focused on aiding whistleblowers. And to the extent that everything we learn and everything we experience is beneficial for policymakers and legislators and advocates as they do try to drive change, then of course we work cooperatively and collaboratively with the people that take your disclosure and try to make impact with it. John, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I will say that we have, part of our mission is to we're trying to help our clients achieve their goals, right? And so some of their goals have to do with policy and advocacy issues. And so to the extent we can help a client with that, we consider that within our mission. One of the biggest reasons that more whistleblowers don't come forward is they don't think that they can have an impact. So if we can show that we're able to get that kind of accountability and impact, we try to do that, obviously. But yeah, there are other organizations focused on like new whistleblower legislation. I mean, we help when we can, but our main focus is direct legal representation of individual clients.
Okay, so then I have another question, which is, what is known and used about human behavior and cognition in the tech industry? I don't think I'm qualified to answer this question. Maybe Stefan or John?
I mean, I'll jump in just to say, at least for my experience at Shutterstock, like there's a lot of stories about artificial intelligence and ways that like companies know human psychology and stuff like that. For a lot of smaller tech companies, and I mean, Shutterstock is a smaller tech company, even with like, I think they have like $1 billion market cap or something like that. Like the level of sophistication is on the low side when it comes to kind of being masterminds of what humans do or don't do. If any of that's happening, it's probably in the larger tech companies like Google or Facebook and stuff like that. So for like in my experience, like Shutterstock was not doing anything super advanced. A lot of what they were trying to do was just be more international friendly, as opposed to trying to understand like what their psychology is.
Stefan, we don't have any more questions. I feel like it's free time for us to talk. Curious, what happened to the rest of your posse who were also very concerned about the complicity with the CCP?
So there was kind of folks at different levels of participation. So we had 20% of the company sign the letter. Most of those were happy to sign the letter, or were convinced it was a safe thing to do, and kind of went on with their business afterwards. For the core group of like the handful of us who were kind of really involved in organizing, it was super demoralizing for everyone, and everyone kind of accepted that they were like on their way out. Probably it was just a question of when, and depending on folks' positions, kind of determined how quickly their exit could happen or not as they started searching for new jobs. I did have one coworker who was let go after an article came out in NBC about the censorship that happened at Shutterstock. The article came out. It mentioned one of the Q&As that had happened in our past and things that our CEO had said. And they looked at the logs to see who had accessed that video, and they fired folks who accessed that video who they thought might have been the source of that information.
I think that's a great illustration for how important it is to contact an organization or a lawyer that can help advise you in that scenario. John, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah. First of all, the tech sector is obviously huge. It's diverse in terms of just the types of the issues that come up. I mean, privacy issues, harm to user issues, workers' rights issues, domestic issues, foreign issues, financial issues in terms of how investors and users are handled. And we can really help you with all of those. Every one of our cases is very different. But like, here's what I would say. The main thing we're trying to do is to make you feel less alone. Whistleblowers feel so isolated, and they're like sitting with themselves, knowing something that no one else knows, terrified, like really worried, and knowing that this is wrong and this needs to stop, but having no idea how to proceed, having not being sure what to do. And like the most important thing we can do is make you feel like you're not alone. So if you know, for all of those type of issues, and I'm sure many others, like we can help you think through who else knows about it. What would happen if you did this? What would happen if you did that? How do you protect your rights? And you know, you'd be working with some of the best, you know, lawyers and advisors in the country on these type of things. So if you have knowledge of something and you're concerned about it, maybe that's why you're watching this, please get in touch with us. The Signal app, which you can put on your phone, you can put it on your desktop. We put the number here on the YouTube. I'm just going to read it again. So it's country code 1 for the United States, 201-773-1371. That's our Signal number. And then there's also a link here for something called Secure Drop, which is actually the most secure way to send us information. You have to install Tor browser on your personal machine, not your work machine, and do not signal us from a work phone or anything like that. Always use your personal. You install Tor browser, you go to our Secure Drop site, which is a .onion site. It's hyper encrypted and anonymous and all the rest, and you can get us messages that way. If you use Secure Drop, we can't even tell your IP address. We can't tell anything. So it's the most secure way to go. So I do hope if you have concerns about something, you'll reach out.
And same for if you know anybody that also is struggling with this, because oftentimes, you know, even though John's advice is don't tell your best friend, of course, we tell our best friend because, you know, we don't know if we're crazy, that this is really wrong and it's got to end. So please know that we're a resource for anybody, and reach out, and we hope you can help. We can help you in any way. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Thank you so much, Stefan. Thank you, John, from calling in from Turkey. Really appreciate all of you. All right, take care.
Thanks. Bye.